Hello, welcome back to Cage Side Press. I'm Patrick McCorry, and I am joined by Octagon's own Mick Stanton. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good, thank you.
So let's talk about it. Former Cage Warriors champion. Now you move into Octagon. What's the biggest difference to you from Cage Warriors to Octagon?
Better pay, good money, and obviously, uh, I'd say a higher level of competition.
Does fighting in front of a bigger crowd maybe play a role for you there as well? You know, we've seen Octagon sell out these massive arenas, and seems Cage Warriors stays with the Indigo in the O2 in these kind of smaller arenas.
Yes, I way back I done a couple of big shows, arena shows with the Cage Warriors at the Echo Arena. That was big. That was about 10,000. But Octagon is, yeah, it's a lot bigger. It's a massive promotion, and it's sold out from the get go. It's always a full house from the first fight, so it's exciting.
And it's a kind of new promotion. I feel like when it started, it wasn't really seen, and now it's really blossomed. Especially they had an amazing 2024. You being a part of that, fighting on their, I believe it was the Birmingham card. Talk to me. Have you been to any of the other shows around Europe and seen what their crowds are like outside of Europe? Because now you are fighting in Tiernek.
Yes, I went over to Germany, Frankfurt. It was a 60,000 seater stadium. I was actually back up for the world title fight. They had belief that one of the opponents might not make it, so we done a full camp for the title fight. Unfortunately, it fell through. I didn't fight. I weighed in, but I was able to sit in the crowd and witness the show, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. I've never seen nothing like that before, and it just made me more hungry to get in there.
And what did you think of Frankfurt? Because I live in Frankfurt, so
Yeah, it was. We went out for the day or two and had a look um round the town and stuff. It was nice. It was great. The Germans were very nice people.
really that's rare. A lot of the time they're regarded as unfriendly. So that's
Really, yeah. Well, we had a nice time. It was a good trip.
And talking the tip for Game Changer tournament now, this is the third installment of it in the middleweight division this time. How excited are you to be a part of this tournament, and how much does the potential four fights tournament style fight you or suit you?
Yeah, I've always been a busy fighter. From from amateur to professional. I've always, I just love fighting. I love the fight camp, and I just like having goals and chasing it. Years ago, I was an amateur boxer, professional boxer, and I won national titles. And we used to fight every week back then, and I used to love that grind and that constant camp and just working towards the next fight every time. Obviously, I'm just concentrating on this fight. And then once this is done and I get that win, then we move on to the next one.
And your camp is obviously in full swing. We're about a month out from the fight. How do you feel about the matchup against Milos?
I think it's a great fight for me. He's a monster. He's a big lad. He's never fought at 84 kilos. It's a different pace. He's gonna gas. I watched his last fight um, against the opponent I fought, and it was a very slow paced fight. They both gassed. I don't think he's he won't go 3 rounds. I can see me stopping him in the third. I fought big, talented lads in the past, and I know how to break them, and I know how to push that pace and make them quit.
I mean, it's a big tournament, and you see the names across the bracket: Karim Engizek, Ion Zerdu, both champions. You know, Andreas Michailidis. There's so many big names. Is there a name that you really feel like I want to have that fight? No matter how the tournament goes, there's one name that you would love to get a matchup with.
I just like to fight them all, if I'm honest. I'll be honest. It's not even like I want to fight it. I just love fighting. I'd be very pleased whoever I got in the draw. I want to fight the best. They are all fantastic athletes and fighters. I do believe. I don't think you've seen the best of me yet. I'm constantly getting better. I work so hard. It's nearly 10 months since my last fight, and the progression I've gone through is unbelievable. I'm now able to train full time. I've had to work. I've got my own gym, Urban Kings Academy, and I've been coaching full time while training. So my fighting has been a sort of hobby up until this point. It's very hard to give it 100% in camp while you've got to work 8 hours a day as well. So I'm blessed that with my sponsorships backing me, I've had some great support from sponsors that I can now give this 100% because it will pay off.
And this weekend in Düsseldorf, I don't know if you will be attending, but there's a big set of fights. Kerem Engizek, Mateo Peñas. How do you feel their fights are going to go?
Peñas, I can see him getting a stoppage. He's a very talented striker. Engizek, it's we haven't seen much of his opponent. I remember him back on PFL. I think he fought at light heavyweight. I haven't seen much of him. It's and it's a tough one. Anything can happen, can't it? I don't think any win is guaranteed in this game. You can get knocked out, you can get submitted, you can get caught. Anything can happen. There's no guarantees. So it's an exciting tournament. And then what you've got to think as well, injuries coming into place, people's health. Your style of fighting will have a sorry, this is coming off. Your style of fighting will play a part in how well you do in the tournament. If you take a lot of damage and you have hard fights and get beat up, then you've got to fight again 10 weeks after. It's going to be tough. You're going to come away with injuries.
And just how do you feel your 2025 is going to look? Obviously, tip for Game Changer, that being the main thing for fights. But beyond that, what do you have any goals beyond the tip for Game Changer tournament for this year?
I wouldn't say goals. No, I think I've done. I've ticked off my bucket list. I've become world champion. I wasn't satisfied with that. All my life I've chased that. I've been fighting since I was a young lad. I finally become world champion. It didn't do nothing for me. Um, like I said, I feel amazing. I'm constantly getting better. I just love testing myself. That's all I'm in this for. I like fighting. I like I like performing. I love entertaining people. And as long as I'm healthy, I'm fit, and I'm performing well, I carry on doing it.
And I don't know if you caught the fight last night between Paul Hughes and Usman Nurmagomedov, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the scorecards and how that fight went.
It was an amazing fight, wasn't it? What an entertaining fight.
So good.
It's a tough one to call. It depends how you watch it. I think obviously the takedowns. I've won in that fight. You give him the first couple of rounds. There was a point deducted, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It's hard to score. I'd have to actually watch it back. But what a performance by Paul Hughes. It was absolutely fantastic.
I think it really does come down to the third round, the way you score it. But I thought even if you give it to Usman, then I thought the best result he could get was a draw. So when
Yeah,
scorecards were
yeah,
being read 48-46, I was watching with my mom and I said, "Oh, Hughes has got it now. That's a huge
yeah.
win."
I did. I thought Paul would have took it away, but obviously where the fight was and who they represent, obviously had a big part to play in that. I do believe though you need to beat the champion to take that belt off him.
Mhm.
It's got to be very convincing. I think Paul said as well, he never give it his all. He could have given a bit more. And I've been in there myself. I remember when I lost the Cage Warriors title. Unfortunately, I just come on off antibiotics. And for 2 days after, it wasn't the best idea, but I convincingly thought I won the fight, and the judges give it the other way. And you come out of there and go, I could have given it a little bit more. Sometimes you think you've done enough, but you've got to go all out, haven't you?
Do you think location plays a big role in the scorecards? Obviously, in that fight, but then you're also fighting in the Czech Republic against a Czech fighter.
Yeah, that's why I need to stop him. Trying to make sure it doesn't go. Depends though. Depends how convincingly you win. If you absolutely destroy someone and beat them up, and they can't give it the other way, can they? But if it's a close fight, then yeah. Do you think, like I said, I boxed as a young lad, and it was very biased to boxing. You know, especially amateur boxing back in the day. You had to go out there and absolutely destroy someone. And still, sometimes they did give the decision the other way, but you know, it's not very good for the company if people are taking a hard, and especially in a competition like this, and they give their decision to the other. You know, it doesn't work well, does it? It doesn't look good.
Mm.
If it's close, obviously, um, that I do believe that fight. If you know a draw or Paul winning it, even Usman winning it, it's you have to watch it back. I think, don't you? Because I think we all wanted Paul to win deep down. We wanted that upset. It's always the way, isn't it? You know, when someone's unbeaten and they're fantastic, you do really want to see them get beat by that up and coming prospect. So if you watch it back, I might watch it back later actually and have a think of it and watch it. It's hard to score when you're sort of biased.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also the Nurmagomedov name plays a role in that, right? I mean,
Too right there.
Umar
What a corner.
we saw Umar lose to Merab Dvalishvili, and a lot of fans online were like, finally, one of these guys lost, right?
Yeah.
Do you think also that plays a role in, like, you mentioned the fans, a lot of people wanted Paul Hughes to win that fight, not only just because from being from the UK and being from Ireland, you know, people do want to see that invincible aura fall. Do you think that plays a role in some people's scorecards online, even?
Yeah, maybe. Like I said, you know, if you are supporting someone, you do have a biased look on the fight, very much. So unless you're the judge and you know you're neutral and you're not supporting anyone, it's hard to you have to watch it back. Have to go again and watch it back and see,
Yeah.
you know, what you think.
I think if the PFL was smart, they would put the full fight immediately up on YouTube because I think everyone wants to rewatch that fight.
Yeah,
I have a
probably,
really
yeah.
hard time getting to Zone or any of those things to work out here.
Same, yeah, same. So it's not the easiest to get fights up, is it?
No, well, like the UFC has like their fight pass. I don't think the PFL has one of those things. And with the Zone, at least I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but I live in Germany and I don't have a German passport, so they just don't let me make an account with my Irish passport because they
Oh,
want the passport number. But it's like you can't set your location to Germany then with your address. But then I set it to Ireland. They're like, but you don't live in Ireland. We can see your IP. So I'm basically blocked from making an account on there.
that's not good, isn't it? Missing
No,
out
it's not.
there. Missing out there.
It's I just feel like some of these promotions, like I think Octagon's done a good job. They got that TV deal now with RTL. I think
Yeah,
promotions need to do sometimes a better job of broadcasting their events. Obviously, Cage Warriors has UFC Fight Pass, so that's a big advantage for them.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good to watch. Uh, Saying that though, like I've had so many people in the past wanting to watch me fight, and unfortunately they couldn't get it up. They never had you, and most people won't subscribe to watch one fight. Um,
Yeah.
I think really like Octagon do like a pay-per-view. It costs like £7 or something like that, and you can watch the show. It's easier, isn't it, than signing up. People don't want to pay up for a monthly subscription just to watch one fight. Even now, come away from Cage Warriors, you know, I don't use UFC Fight Pass. I've only got it for my fights. I don't think I've watched the Cage Warriors event since I've gone. There's not many entertaining fights on it anymore. PFL's a strange show though. It's weirdly set out. You know, the shows aren't packed out. It's amazing how they're doing what they're doing and paying the fighters so well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you see, they dropped the prize money down.
yeah, well, they've got to, I think, to survive, haven't they? They
Yeah.
can't keep paying that out. You know, uh, I fought on PFL once before, they were giving tickets away. They couldn't sell it. They need to make some big changes, I think, fast. They're trying to compete with UFC, aren't they? And you got no chance.
No. I mean, Octagon does a good job. I say they're. I feel right now with the numbers that they draw, I think they're above the PFL, especially with the crowds they draw in Europe, right? They're kind of the UFC of Europe now.
Yeah, definitely. It's massive. It's the production's unbelievable. It's so big. Um, and they look after the fighters. They really do. You know, the fights are so entertaining. There's so many great fights on it, and that's the thing as well. You know, PFL have good fights. They're very fair matchups, but I think they're struggling to draft fighters in, and the sort of the way they only pick certain weight classes. You know, when I fought on PFL, I had to jump in at light heavyweight. I took a short notice fight on a week's notice. Fought at light heavyweight. I was promised a 5-fight contract. That's the reason I took the fight. Come up against this absolute monster. Week's notice. It didn't go very well. I got submitted. I made a couple of mistakes. And then they terminated my contract because they said they're not doing a middleweight division. So it's sort of it's a strange organisation. Very strange. It's I don't think they know what they're doing. Um and it'd be see how long it lasts.
And speaking of organizations, you mentioned leaving Cage Warriors. How did that go? Was it your contract was up, or you wanted to leave? How did it all go, and why was Octagon the right choice?
Um Basically, Cage Warriors is a fantastic promotion. I love competing on it. I fought the best of the best on that show. I fought at welterweight and middleweight. And it come to the point in my career where I had to make a living out of it. It wasn't worth it anymore. So luckily enough, Octagon asked me to sign with them. And now I've got this opportunity in this tournament to make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a very impressive resume. I was at your fight against James Webb, and you have an impressive resume. So I think you provide a lot of value. But then you look at the entire UK and Ireland scene. Octagon is trying to dabble in that. They've got Aaron Abbey, Shamrock, Dennis Frimpong, the likes of those fighters. How do you feel about the current scene in the UK and Ireland?
Um, I think everyone's trying to make it to the UFC, and they're not fighting the best no more. They're stacking up the records. They have a banana skin, they get beat, then they're back to the drawing board. I wouldn't say I done it the right way. I just fought the best of the best. I wasn't in it to, get on the big shows. I'm a fighting man. I love fighting. I just love testing myself. I'm very fortunate to get where I've got to. I've had a bumpy career. I had a lot of losses before I sort of got it right and started dominating. Um, but the UFC is a very high level, and if you are not tested before you get to that level, then you will fail massively. Ring craft, skill level, fight IQ, it all plays a massive part in it. You've got to climb your way up the rankings slowly, and you've got to get better as you do that. You've got to work hard. I noticed a massive jump in level when I first fought in the top 20 in the UK and Ireland. Uh, and then I think I fought Webb after that. And then I had to go to work harder to level up massively. And then lucky enough, I went on a tear and done very well. But like I said, I fought the best of the best, middleweights, some for a lot of very good welterweights. I don't think people are doing that no more. On these shows, they're bringing in bums to fight. No one's never heard of them. Who are they? Doesn't matter if they've got a good record or not. UK is full of great talent, and I think they should be fighting each other. You need to be the best in the UK before you go on and fight in the UFC. That's the way I believe it. You've got to conquer the UK first, haven't you?
Do you think that's why a lot of these top prospects, I mean, we've seen a lot in the last year, not only UK and Irish fighters, but American ones and all over the world, they fall short in their like third UFC fight because they fight at this lower level. They get to the UFC, they break in the first UFC fight, and then they lose when they take on a savvy veteran who's been there, done that. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. Of course. That's what it is. There's levels to the game. Fight IQ's got a massive part to play in it. If you've never had tough fights where you've had to dig deep and then, push that pace and use that skill to get through them hard times to then win that fight. It's if you're just getting in there and destroying people, you're not learning nothing. Not learning nothing about yourself. You're not learning nothing about how to get through them tough times. And I think that's actually what's wrong with the UK scene at the moment.
Well, Nick, I want to say thank you so much for the time today. I know it's Sunday, so you probably want to get on with your family or some training. So I'll let you go. But if you want to shout out any sponsorships or merchandise, here's your platform before you get out of here.
Yes, thank you. My sponsors, Frequency, Clothing. If you're not wearing Frequency, you're missing out massively. They're taking over. One of my other sponsors, Butler and Co. Law, they've helped me out massively. Thank you very much. My food sponsor, Prep Meals, they've had me back for the last couple of years and helped me through my fight camps, providing amazing meals. Thank you so much to them. And Thick as Thieves Tattoos, who jumped on for me last camp, helped me work hard, and they've got me back. Thank you so much to all my sponsors, HD and ASW, all my fight team, and all my training partners. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time, Nick.
Thank you.